All right, guys, welcome back to the
No cuts. Discovering Eden.
Discovery Eden podcast. My name is Brandon,
I'm Jonathan.
and wow, did I butcher that?
It's all right.
Discovering Eden.
Well, if it makes you feel never mind. No puns.
No, I'll go there. This is forgiveness.
I forgive you for butchering the intro.
Man, I just wanted a real do-over. He prevented me from stopping the recording. So guess what? Have fun. I look like an idiot now.
Hey, if we ever get those YouTube shorts started, it'll be a great YouTube short.
You know, we need to do those at some point. But anyway, now that we need forgiveness even more, let's get into it and pray to God for forgiveness.
Anyway, both for us and this discussion.
Dear God, I just thank you that we're able to kind of be ourselves and be able to laugh and joke about, messing up, different things like that, and asking for forgiveness, Lord. Pray that you would just enter into this discussion with us and that we're able to talk about you and talk about the real power that comes through forgiveness. Not only just because of things that we do and mess up, but also the fact that you take away our sin through the act of forgiveness. And it's something that we just don't deserve. And again, Lord, pray over this podcast, this topic, this discussion, and everything that we have to say, and pray that whatever is from you would be magnified, whatever is from us that would fall to the ground be forgotten, but above all else, that your name would be lifted high. And I pray this all in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Bumper time.
Bumper time.
Forgiveness.
I forgive you.
For making you awkwardly intro the video. Yes. I forgive you for awkwardly introing the video. See, it's a cycle. It's a circle. Anyway, Brandon, what's your definition of forgiveness?
So, I kind of alluded to it in the prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Where forgiveness is, basically, this kind of also ties into mercy as well in some aspect. But how do you define forgiveness without saying forgive? That is the question.
That is the challenge.
That is the challenge.
See, now I'm gonna try to rework my definition of my head to not forgive.
Oh, let's see. I know, it's actually kind of hard. Man, I'm just drawing a blank. I know what I want to say, but I keep wanting to say forgive in it.
Full send it.
Well, I can't do that. We already make fun of Webster enough for doing that.
Yeah,
fair
enough. All right, time to pull up synonyms for forgive. I'm just kidding. That's cheating.
Man. Oh,
we've got literary minds. We can do this.
Except mine's on sabbatical, I guess. My mind's just gone. So on that note, it's your definition. So maybe you could spark me.
So forgiveness. See, now I'm gonna have a challenge too. No, forgive. Can't use that word.
I didn't think that.
It's tough because you want to use the word forgive in it because we all know what it means. I think in a relational aspect, what does it mean to forgive somebody? I'm trying to.
Then when you actually think of what's a good word for forgive that's not forgive? And then you have that.
I think in a very, circumventional way of trying to define this without using the word forgive. It's a way of looking
forgive on the next.
When somebody wrongs you, it is a way to. I really want to say forgive.
Well, because it's like the only other thing I'm like, it's appease, but it's not.
It's not appeasement.
It's not appeasement either.
It's a genuine attempt to
right the wrong.
Right the wrong, but
not even. It's not even.
That's looking at like necessarily you're getting justice for it.
Yeah,
and I think it's almost to forgo any personal harm that it may have put on you. And I don't even love that phrasing, but it's the best thing I can think of in the moment, and look past it out of love and grace towards the other person, acknowledging that they've made a oopsie.
They've made an oopsie, but you're willing to look past it.
Yes. And that was a really challenging
I guess it's going to be both of our working definitions, because it's hard. This is another reason why I'd be interested to look at what the Webster's dictionary says, because like, how do you define forgiveness without using forgiveness or forgave or forgive or anything of that sort?
Yeah, and we ran into this issue a couple times with some other words, at least with the Merriam-Webster dictionary, where we ended up having to look at like the root word for it and be like, well, what did they say for that?
Well, it's going to be forgive, probably.
So we might have to look at forgive. I don't know. We'll see what their definition is. I have it pulled up.
But especially, I guess, looking, again, into like more of a faith reasoning behind it, it's going to say the same thing. Yep. But it's definitely a lot more... It has a relational aspect.
Yeah, it's very personable. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Where it's kind of like, well, and I say this because I think of Jesus as the ultimate example of this, like laying one's life on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm willing to lay down my ideals, my beliefs, my whatever, in favor of lifting yours up.
Mm-hmm.
Or to uplift you. It's not necessarily tearing me down, right, but it's uplifting you.
And it's very...
For more of a constructive way,
yeah,
as opposed to destructive.
Yeah, and it's a very humbling act even.
Yes.
It's an act of humility, especially when you put it like you're laying something down, because that's what it is. You're putting aside, like you said, your own, whether it's your beliefs or your own wants or whatever in that moment to...
And then obviously with Jesus, it's own life on the line, for the sake of everyone else.
Right.
So, like, that's an extreme example
right,
of forgiveness, but I feel like is the ultimate
100%
example of forgiveness. But anyway, we'll get into Webster. It's going to say the exact thing that we were saying.
Forgiveness.
The
act of forgiving.
So
we're going to look at forgive. To seize, to feel resentment against an offender, or to pardon. To give up resentment of or claim to requital. To grant relief from payment of, such as to forgive a debt.
Nope. Okay.
They
thought of different words. Well, it didn't think of words, but yeah, there's different things to kind of go around saying kind of the same thing, but obviously it's more one note in some aspects. Again, one thing it doesn't really portray is the more
faith-based part of it.
It's the community aspect of it, or some personal. Like I don't want to say like these definitions lack personality, but they have personableness to them. Especially with forgiveness, it's one to another in more of a loving way, as opposed. Well, and then you have your mom that says to you, "Hey, go forgive your brother," and you're like, "I'm sorry that you're terrible," and say in a snarky way, which kind of like we were talking before, that's more of a false forgiveness or different thing. Yeah. But anyway. Yeah. I don't know where I was going with that. This is going to be an awkward episode. I can already tell.
I forgive you. I forgive myself for those puns.
I don't.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh gosh.
Speaking of, we need to get to the Bible, so let's actually look at people who actually can forgive.
Yeah. You want me to start? Do you want to start?
You can start because I have a couple of people in mind.
Yeah.
Just to see where you're gonna go, and then I can.
Yeah.
I could go a different direction if need be.
Yeah. So we talked about it a little bit beforehand. There's obviously a lot of examples of forgiveness in Scripture. A bunch of names come up. Obviously, you've got Jesus, which we talked about. That's not who I went. But, we talked a little bit before we started filming Stephen. I also decided I'm not going to go Stephen. We can talk about Stephen because I think it's a great example of forgiveness. I actually went with someone that I think most people would know, and that's Joseph.
Yep, that's what I figured we were going. That's why I went a different direction.
And I know we've talked about Joseph before, but I think it's just another example, especially looking at who he's forgiving. I think we can all take a lot from it. A lot of people have siblings who
wants to be sold into a cistern and sold off to.
Well, not exactly like that, but we've all got familial.
What? That is it. That is it. What you experienced growing up?
Only on Wednesdays. No, I was the oldest. I was. Never mind.
You were the one doing it. I see.
Jokes aside, that's not true. Don't come after me.
Or is it? Okay.
But yeah, so I do have a verse pulled up. So this is when he forgives his brothers. And it comes from Genesis chapter 50, 15 through 21. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, "What if Joseph holds a grudge against us and pays us back for all the wrongs we did to him?" So they sent word to Joseph, saying, "Your father left these instructions before he died. This is what you are to say to Joseph. I ask you to forgive your brothers the sins and the wrongs they committed in treating you so badly. Now please forgive the sins of the servants of the God of your father." When their message came to him, Joseph wept. His brothers then came and threw themselves down before him. "We are your slaves," they said. But Joseph said to them, "Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. So then don't be afraid. I will provide for you and your children." And he reassured them and spoke kindly to them. Yeah, so it's just this guy was put through the ringer by his brothers. And
if you know the story of why, you could see the point of view from the brothers.
For sure. They were jealous.
Well, especially if basically Joseph's like, "Hey, look at this dream I had. It's basically all of you bowed down to me.
I'm wonderful.
I'm fantastic. You guys, everybody bows down to me. I'm awesome."
Which, I was going to say, typical younger sibling syndrome, but
bow down before me. I am greater than ye.
I am Mummy's favorite. But
give me cookies, all of them.
So yeah, I mean, he gets sold, which isn't it's not right, and obviously there is a lot of room for there to be frustration and anger and hurt, and it's not to say that he didn't feel those things, but he still chose in the moment to forgive them of those transgressions.
And especially with everything he went through, whether that was being in jail even for something he didn't even do, with Potiphar's wife, Potiphar, all that kind of stuff. Take a look. It's in Genesis. There you go.
Yeah.
But I've always liked the story of Joseph. Coat of many colors. Not that Joseph, not the. I mean, they're both good stories, but
There's a couple different Josephs in the Bible.
There's a couple Joes. Not your average Joes, mind you, but anyway, I'll digress before I dig myself a deeper hole to get in the pot and solve myself in. Anyway, so I stuck again with the book of Genesis, and it is not Jacob, or not Joseph. It's not Joseph. Why I said Jacob is because Esau is my person.
That's a
for
good
forgiveness.
one. It's an interesting one. That's fun.
So it's forgiveness, yet not necessarily reconciliation. So there's a discrepancy, but there's some similarities with some of the forgiveness people that I had in mind, and I'll go through them later. So I have this, and this is in Genesis 33. So to give a little context with Jacob and Esau. So Esau was the firstborn. So he had the birthright, like by rights, because he was first in line, like a lot of different, families and everything do, like succession. This is the next person. So Jacob was mommy's boy.
Esau
was daddy's boy. And Isaac was a little bit more on the blinder side. Yeah. So basically, with the help of his mom, Jacob was able to coax out the birthright from Esau to give to Jacob. Which, a little bit of a shady play.
Oh, 100%.
Just a little bit, because birthright in that time and age is huge.
Yeah.
Very important. And, obviously Esau didn't like that so much.
Understandably.
The fact that he traded it for food, which is a very temporary thing. Very temporary. Like, I'm starving. Here, I'll trade you this for some food. So, again, it goes into more of the temporal versus longer lasting kind of thing as well. But basically, this interaction appears years later. After they kind of split up, Esau was like in Joseph, or I keep saying Joseph and Jacob.
It's okay.
So Jacob basically saw Esau as almost fuming. Like, he's angry, he's out to get me kind of thing. Like, basically everything like that. So when he sees that Esau and his basically army of men are like on the horizon, he's like, oh crap. Prepare for the worst. You guys, you're the first to flee if you get there. Say we'll give them all this stuff to basically say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Basically like that, like, please let Esau, my good buddy, my good brother. So how you been doing, man? Here's all these gifts so you completely ignore what I did to you.
Yeah.
So there's a reason why I'm not saying Jacob for this, because I think Esau's representation of forgiveness is better. And it's not necessarily by a monetary thing, because basically I would say what Jacob's doing is more bribery.
Yeah.
Than forgiveness.
He's in panic mode, so how do you...
So there's a difference, and most people of the story would say, oh yeah, Jacob's the good one. But in this instance, I think Esau has a better grasp at what forgiveness is.
Yeah.
So I'll get into reading the interaction at first. So this starts at verse 1 from chapter 33, and I'll go to number 9. Go to verse 9. So Jacob looked up, and there was Esau, coming with his 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the 2 female servants. He put the female servants and their children in front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph in the rear. He himself went on ahead and bowed down to the ground 7 times as he approached his brother. And this is the part that I want to highlight. But Esau ran to meet Jacob and embraced him. He threw his arms around his neck and kissed him, and they wept. Then Esau looked up and saw the women and children. "Who are these with you?" he asked. Jacob answered, "They are the children God has graciously given your servant." Then the female servants and their children approached and bowed down. Next, Leah and her children came and bowed down. Last of all came Joseph and Rachel, and they too bowed down. Esau asked, "What is the meaning of all these flocks and herds I met?" So what Jacob sent ahead of time. "To find favor in your eyes, my lord," he said. But Esau said, "I already have plenty, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself."
Yeah. It's a powerful moment because
Though it doesn't say "I forgive you."
it's the act.
It's the act of all the anger or whatever that I had before. It again, why I pick this, because it reminds me of the story of the prodigal son, which is another
Story of forgiveness.
story of forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
But in this instance, it's more like Esau is that father with his arms open.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily what you would think.
Well, you could even make the argument. I mean, with the prodigal son, you've still got two brothers, and the other brother isn't super happy with the prodigal and that he's being welcomed back. I mean, Esau almost flips that on its head a little bit.
Well, it's not that probably still in Esau, he's still a little bitter about it.
100%.
But his response gives, "I haven't seen you in years, brother.
Mm-hmm.
I love you. How are you doing?"
Yeah.
Like, you have kids and children now. Like, you have a wife, you have a family, you have children. Oh my goodness, brother. I've longed to see you. That's what it gives.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the anger of, "Where's my birthright?"
Mm-hmm.
It's that. And then when Jacob tries to appease using all these other things, kind of like what the prodigal son is like with, "I'll become your slave. I'll do anything. Let me be like your servant." Esau's like, "No, none of that. I'm just glad to see you." And it's kind of like it's a mending of the relationship as opposed to tearing it apart.
Mm-hmm.
That's what forgiveness is. And that's why I chose Esau. And I didn't feel like you were going to go Esau, so I kept that as my ace in the hole, if you will. But I did have Joseph as an option because, to be honest, that's the very first person I thought of. Outside of Jesus, obviously.
Jesus is almost always the first person you
Yeah.
think of.
Jesus,
And then it's like, okay.
for like every episode except for sin,
Yeah.
Jesus is the first person you think of and fits basically every category. And which is why we only left him for love, because I feel like that's the perfect embodiment of who Jesus is. Forgiveness would be a very close second. And then I had like batches of two. So obviously I was thinking of the prodigal son story and the father figure in that.
Mhm.
That's who I had for one option. And that ties along with Esau because I saw that similarity. And then again, when you have similarities, you have Stephen and
Mhm.
Jesus, where, well, they essentially do the same thing because Stephen is imitating Jesus. Forgive not, for they know not what they're doing. Or forgive them, for they know not what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
As they both
Are being killed.
Stephen being stoned, Jesus being crucified.
Yeah.
Which is another powerful image in that, right? And then you have Joseph, whereas everything you wish to do to harm me, God has done for good.
Mm-hmm.
So showing another example or another illustration of what forgiveness could look like. So all the crud that we think we might go through, with forgiveness, that can be flipped on its head.
Right.
In a way that you or I couldn't even imagine. And I know it was the Rwandan genocide.
He got it this time.
I got it this time because I looked like a fool before. That's where that story that I was talking about on the previous episode, that's forgiveness. So take a look back at the episode. To be honest, I don't remember which episode it is.
It's the one with Aiden.
Yeah, it's the one with It's the one with Aiden. Trust. It was Trust. That's the episode. Look up Trust. That's the Rwandan genocide one, where they have bricks and they build a house like together as neighbors and different things. And it's more of a cooperative thing, and they're really neat. And with forgiveness, you have that, and then it honestly strengthens those bonds even more, even when you think these people should hate each other's guts.
Yeah.
Where that relationship should not exist, but with forgiveness, it almost strengthens it. So that's what forgiveness can do. It's the ultimate band-aid.
Well,
maybe ultimate band-aid isn't the greatest choice of wording, but anyway.
It works. Sort of.
Anyway, do you have any other thoughts, especially around Stephen, or I think you had some ideas?
Yeah, you kind of covered it, though, with the connection to Jesus and that act of, in the moment, both of them, he's imitating Jesus in that moment. Yeah, you kind of covered that. But.
And obviously, forgiveness is, I wouldn't say it's something that comes first nature.
I don't think to anybody, really. I mean, it's
because what is the initial response to things? Oh, I want to take revenge.
Mm-hmm. I want justice.
Eye for an eye.
Yeah.
I want justice. Well, that's the way the world thinks, and it's the way we kind of grew up. So we're like, yeah, that is the way. However, Jesus beckons us and calls us to a different path, a different way.
And it's why I said it's such a humble act, and it's an act of humility, because you are saying, even though this seems, even though I want justice or an eye for an eye, like you said, I'm going to put myself down here and I'm going to say, I forgive you for what you've done. It's all right.
I'm willing to look past it because I believe in the growth that you have.
Yeah. It's intrinsically an act of humility.
Well, and honestly, it's an act of trust.
Yeah.
Kind of, again, tying it back to trust a little bit, because it takes trust to forgive.
To genuinely forgive, at least.
Yeah. Because there's some people like, I can't forgive them.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what it is, I can't forgive them. Like, and I honestly see this even with my own family, with extended family, with something, that has happened within the family. There's family members that, they still haven't forgiven. And that relationship is fractured, possibly broken. And it's walking in the midst of that, and it's like, you know what forgiveness can do, but it's so hard to forgive, especially given the gravity of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, how can anything possibly good come from this?
Yeah.
And I think that's a lie sometimes we believe, where it's like, I've done something so wrong, or some of these people have done something so wrong, forgiveness can't save them. But that's when we look to Jesus and what he did. And he forgives everyone, for no matter what sin you committed. It could even be the gravest of sins, whether that be murder or anything. Yet he sacrificed his life so that we may have a second chance. That is forgiveness. And we are like those people. We know not what we're doing. And it's something that we have to constantly do. We have to constantly ask for forgiveness. I feel like I don't ask it enough of God. There's plenty of stuff I mess up on. Countless. You know, you can number it on your fingers. And
It's still
1, 2, 3, 4. I ran on the toes.
Don't have enough.
Here, I'll borrow yours.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just echoing what you said. I mean, there's mess up every day. Sometimes, a lot. And how many times though do I actually ask for forgiveness? I think it's when I'm very conscious of what I'm doing.
I feel like we ask for forgiveness when we're extremely guilty.
Yeah.
Of what we've done.
But sometimes it's like I even think about like how many little white lies have I told somebody?
Yeah.
Just, either to
and sometimes it's out of best
or
sometimes it's out of best interest.
Yeah.
But like how many times are you not being quote unquote real with them?
Yeah.
How many times are you not I don't even know how I want to say it.
Yeah. Well, I think of that and I think, have I actually asked for forgiveness for those things? Not always. Because they just kind of fly over my head.
Well, sometimes I feel like we almost self-justify.
Yeah.
Saying, oh, well, they deserved it. Or, fill in the blank.
Yeah. Whatever it is.
And sometimes, like, some of our grievances themselves are against God.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how dare you, God? Like, thinking of all the different lamentations and different things that we could have. Whereas, we don't even bring it to God. We just kind of let it fester and boil.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, like, how many times do we say, I'm sorry? Can you forgive me? And I think sometimes it's our own pride that gets in the way of saying, well, I'm not sorry. Why do you do this to me? How dare you? It's, again, going back to that humility of saying, I'm sorry. And how genuinely sorry we can be. Mm-hmm. And it's a very vulnerable state, which is a state that not a whole lot of people want to be in, especially in the current state that this world is in. Because being vulnerable often means showing weakness.
Yeah.
And one thing that the world doesn't like is, well, if you have weakness, we feast on your weakness and eat you alive.
Dog eat dog world.
However, with weakness, and when we ask for forgiveness and lean into what Jesus has for us to offer, that weakness becomes a strength. Because we rely on Jesus, we rely on God to strengthen through our weakness. It reinforces it. Which, it's really easy to say that hey, I forgive you. But when it comes to actually doing, when actually walking through those steps to actually forgive someone, that's when it's a little bit harder.
Yeah.
It's not easy. I mean, with some of the stuff that, my extended family and stuff have been through, it's definitely not easy. And I feel like I was the one person with the cool head on my shoulders. And I'm like, should I have a cool head on my shoulders? Everybody else is getting up in arms about it. I'm like, should I be more angry?
Right.
Am I just not emotional? Even though I know I'm an emotional person? Did I miss something here? I know it's bad, but did I miss something? Or am I actually walking in the way I'm supposed to be? and offering that option for forgiveness, even when it's hard. And to be honest, I don't know. And that's where it's a little bit challenging. But this is where, like, the community aspect of forgiveness is a real huge part. Because you don't walk life alone. You have your accountability partners. You have people like that you can talk to. That can also help coach you through how to forgive somebody.
Right.
And honestly, like, for those struggling, just take that first step. You know, forgive them. Even if they don't ask for it, you can forgive them, especially in your mind. God will know. And you'd be surprised on what good can come out of that, especially when all the pent up anger and anything you had up welling inside you about, like, some interaction that you had between you, it just kind of dissipates.
Yeah.
And you can start to mend that relationship again, or build it even stronger.
Yeah. Instead of continuing to light the matches and burn the bridge, decide to start building it.
Yeah, reinforce the bridge or build it instead of burning it down.
Yeah.
So that's my encouragement to you guys out there, for whoever's watching. Sure, we may have our own screw ups and mess ups, like in the intro of the video or anything like that. So we ask for your forgiveness in that respect. Like, we don't know the best way to, like, record these videos either, but we know that it can also help whoever's watching.
Yeah.
And hopefully this is a gift to you.
Yeah. And we firmly believe that if you need to be seeing this, you're seeing it.
Yeah.
Or you will at some point. Because that's how God works, you know? It may not reach a massive worldwide audience, but
Oh, it's not going to.
but if the one person who needs to see it sees, if the one person who needs to see it sees it,
that's
what matters.
So maybe that's, forgiving somebody you lost contact with for a while, kind of like Jacob and Esau. How can you take a step like Esau? Let's take a step forward and embrace instead of go to arms.
Yeah.
How can you be like Joseph? Again, encountering somebody you haven't seen in a while, who may have wronged you in the past, who does feel that remorse. How do you respond? Think about that, ponder it. And with that, that's forgiveness.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah. See you next time. See ya.